this has to come from residents because, as Vicki mentioned,
Good evening. Welcome to the planning board meeting for this month. This is a regular meeting of the planning board of the Village of Dows Ferry on Thursday evening, April 4, 2019, in the boardroom here. We have a full agenda tonight. We welcome you here in the room and those that will be watching us hopefully later in our TV show. I would take a motion to open the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. We have eight items on our agenda tonight, a busy night. The first item is to adopt the minutes. I do not see that do we have minutes?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
We got minutes on
Here's minutes.
our desk.
They look good.
Okay.
They show that I was late.
Busted.
And very clear, you can follow. when
Very
I arrive.
clear. Don't approve it. I was not given minutes. Maybe, no?
I was drinking.
Yeah, they're there.
Yes, they are. Oh, I know. I had one question. I'm sorry. I had one question on page 9. I don't know. Dan, do you have a copy of the minutes?
I don't.
Here, oh, is this not?
Here, I can pass mine down. I just had a comment on page 9 also. I was shown as absent excused for both votes, and of course I was here. Oh, you got a copy?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second line under action on that page, it says, Mr. Posen said there should be a motion to refer the application to the Board of Trustees and a motion to adjourn the public hearing to a specific date. I'm just, to the next meeting on April 4. I was just trying to figure that line out.
Which application was that in connection?
I'm sorry, it's,
100 me.
it's 8, it's number, yeah, it's item number 8, but it appears on page 9 at the top.
Yeah, we did adjourn the public hearing.
Is that for 100 Main Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because,
Is that what?
right, because you had opened the public hearing,
Right.
so you needed to adjourn it to a date certain, which was presumably today.
To a specific date. I guess my point was, but it wasn't adjourned to a specific date, it was just adjourned.
No, I think my understanding was you were saying you were adjourning it till April 4, 2019.
Yeah. Well,
And that's followed in the next line.
Yeah.
It says motion by
Yeah.
Chairman Hunter,
Yeah, but-
seconded to adjourn the public hearing for the
yeah,
application.
tonight, but it's not on our agenda tonight, that's my point.
Oh, well, we had to change the date.
Oh. well,
And we
should-
didn't intend
so-
it to be, I don't,
Well, the reason it should have been because it was noted, it was a noticed public hearing, and if you don't adjourn it to a specific date, then it has to be re-noticed.
okay,
But
all right, well,
that's fine too, I mean,
because it was referred back, obviously, to the Board of
Right.
Trustees, and we were waiting for their response, so.
right.
So, my question is, do we need to amend this, or is this fine the way it stands?
I think it's fine this way.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, they'll just have to re-notice me.
yeah, okay, all right. I move the approval of the minutes.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you. Just to prove I read this, I think, more than anything. Or my lack of understanding, one of the two. Item number 2 on our agenda is 11 Overlook Road, continuation of public hearing for site plan approval for, well, it says amount of soil to be filled in a grade yard to up to an existing retaining wall. It was probably more complex than that, but in any case, I would move that we open the public hearing. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. 11 Overlook. Oh, my God.
Hi.
Hello again.
Last time I was here, we agreed that we would close the public hearing and we get a resolution, stipulations. Board have any questions, concerns?
Right. Well, Mr. Manley and
I believe
Mr. Palmer, are there further things that we should be discussing?
No, I believe there is a
It's a resolution.
resolution.
There is a
prepared.
resolution.
One of the items we talked about at the last meeting was the deck being moved outside of the easement area, just not necessarily because it was wrong or whatnot, but instead of going through the whole process of trying to figure out what that easement's for and whatnot, was to move it out, if I'm not mistaken,
Caltech too, right?
and the cold deck, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we did have a conversation with the applicant, the applicant's engineer, and they can address all of the items from our previous memorandum. We talked about steep slopes and analyses, and they're able to do that. We took a look at them ourselves. We don't think it's a major issue. There are some steep slopes, but they're not significant to sites or views or anything, because the code requires you to look at them for significance. And the drainage, as Ed mentioned in the last meeting, there is a provision, that a policy that was generated for putting one cold deck in. If you're under 400 square feet, and they're under that impervious area, and they're gonna confirm all that. We've checked it for now, but their architects are going through that as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
And just to mention, I did receive AHRB approval for the project. Also, in terms of the easement, that drainage easement, I talked to my architect. We're willing to address it if necessary, but there's, that drainage easement is just for water flowing over the ground. And it's meant for only if, to prevent people from building like a secondary structure that would prevent, water flowing over the ground. Our contention is that two, sono tubes, little concrete pillars, won't really affect water flowing over the ground. There's already two there, has been for the last, 60 years. So the reason I even bring this up is because after talking to my architect, she said, well, to cantilever the deck, we would have to re-architect all the stairs and stuff, because there still won't be enough room to have the landing and stuff be code. So I prefer to leave the plans as is and just, but
I think in some ways it's up to our engineer who has been dealing with these problems and,
Yeah, the overland flow issue, this is the first we're hearing of it, but putting the, maybe we could put some language into the resolution that says, well, if you have to move anything, or if drainage has to come through there for whatever reason, we'll modify your deck accordingly.
Yeah.
And you could agree to that. So
Yeah.
that way,
absolutely.
the easement, the intent of the easement remains. So if Ed's okay with that, or Ed can write a permit that way, he's comfortable with that, that would be the issue.
Yeah, I could do that. But if the intent of the easement was to allow water to flow across the property, we've changed the grade pretty significantly, so if there's a problem, it would have to be a culvert under there. And that would impact your footings.
Sure.
So if it's, water's running across the existing grade on surface, now you're 6 foot higher, it's not gonna run anymore, it's just gonna hit your retaining wall and go down.
His site engineer can speak more to it, but it's still gonna be sloped. The yard's not gonna be perfectly flat. And we're willing to, address whatever drainage concerns, whether that means adding another Coltech
So
or
we-
taking responsibility.
Coltech will take care of your additional surface water, but we're gonna have to put in the permit and the CO that if there's a problem with drainage across the backyards, you're gonna have to address that by digging up and putting in a pipe to take that from one end to the other of your retaining walls.
I'm totally willing to do that, and I'm actually totally willing to work with, the site engineer to ensure that we can address that now during the construction phase.
Okay.
are there any other questions from the board?
Well, just related to that, I mean, isn't it hugely less expensive to put a pipe in before you do the fill?
That's exactly what I just meant by during the construction phase, is go ahead and put the pipe in.
there engineering associated with that?
The pipe, well, there's nothing in there now, and the pipe would be sized for whatever conveyance would be upstream of that. So yes, there's some engineering involved with that, but it probably wouldn't be anything major, because there's nothing running across it now. It's a slope,
Yeah,
so,
Yeah.
because everything goes downhill, so
correct.
there's not a lot to it.
And unfortunately, I mean, neighbors, I don't know, their easements are not exactly intact. So,
Yeah, this might be just a segment of one, the other easements could be defunct, and this could be the only one that's left, so we might be putting something in that it would never be used, so.
Yeah. Okay. It's a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? I think, Mr. Manley, is it fair, are you satisfied if we go forward with the resolution as it now
I think we
reads?
can work the rest of the way through with the permit and the applicant's engineer.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Then I would move that we approve the resolution.
Close the hearing.
First, I'm going to read it, though. Village Dobbs Ferry Planning Board Resolution granting site plan approval for the construction of a retaining wall together with related site work, 11 Overlook Road. Whereas Matthew Pfluger, owner, has applied for site plan approval to construct a retaining wall at the rear of his single-family house at 11 Overlook Road, and denoted on the tax assessment maps as Section 3.100, Block 97, Lot 36, and located in the OF zoning district. And whereas the following plans and documents were submitted as part of the application that lists all the things we have reviewed. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and the surrounding area and the proposed improvement plans, and at their meeting of February 7, March 7, and April 4 held duly noticed public hearings and all comments were considered. And whereas the proposed site improvements to the single-family property are a Type 2 action under the State Environment Quality Review Act and are therefore exempt from further environmental review. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry herein grants site plan approval for the subject application conditioned on the following. Number 1, all applicable provisions of the village, county, and state regulations shall be met. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, all required site plans and village consultants' review fees shall be paid, and all items in the village consulting engineered memos dated March 1 and March 29, 2019 shall be addressed to his satisfaction. 3, the site landscape plan shall be finalized subject to the review and approval of the village's consulting planner. 4, the following language shall be added to the plan, quote, approved subject to all requirements and conditions of an April 4, 2019 resolution. The Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, New York, any changes, erasure, modifications, revision of this plan absent reapproval from the Planning Board shall void this approval. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall have an effective date of April 4, 2019. I would make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, and good luck with. Item number 3 on our agenda, 4 Cricket Lane, a public hearing, a continuation of a public hearing for proposed subdivision to combine 2 existing lots. I would make a motion to open the public hearing. Second? All in favor? Thank you. Mr. Broad.
Opening it.
Yeah, all right. All right.
Same.
Roy, since the last meeting, we resubmitted the plat, made 2 changes, was requested. One is the title to the final plat, and then we designated the lot line to be removed, designated existing lot line to be requested.
Good.
Anybody say anything about it?
Yeah. Anybody, in this is a public hearing, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to be heard? Any further questions
No.
from the board members?
Nope.
What I don't seem to have a resolution, is there a resolution on this one?
Resolution.
I'd make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor? Thank you. I make the following motion, Village of Dobbs Ferry, Planning Board Resolution, preliminary and final subdivision approval, lot merger 4 Cricket Lane. Whereas Stephen and Cheryl Grog, owners, have applied for subdivision approval to merge adjoining lots they own at 4 Cricket Lane, identified on the tax map of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, and it gives the locations. Whereas the plans and documents consisting of the following, and lists them, which have been submitted to the village in the requisite number, and whereas the planning board has inspected the property and is familiar with the nature of the site, the surrounding area, and the proposed merger of the subject parcels, and whereas a public hearing was held on April 4, 2019, and all comments were duly considered, therefore, be it resolved that the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry hereby grants preliminary and final subdivision approval subject to the following conditions. 1, the proposed reapportioning shall be reviewed by the village attorney to ensure all requirements of Article 14, subdivision of land of the village code for final plat approval have been satisfied. 2, any costs incurred by the village for consultant fees and any out-of-pocket expenses be paid for by the applicant prior to the execution of the plat. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall have an effective date of April 4, 2019. I make the motion. Is there a second? Second? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask, to be clear, what is the process to get the plat signed? So
Oh, you have to bring in a Mylar
Right.
for the
Okay.
chairman to sign, so you can bring that to the village clerk or to the building clerk and get it signed.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Item 4 on our agenda tonight, 108 Northfield Avenue, public hearing for proposed second-floor addition and front porch addition. I make a motion, we open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Ed Mauer for the applicant, Michael Becker. We went to the ARB, their approval, received comments from the building engineer, I believe it was just, we didn't make any changes other than the window at the ARB, so the same application as well.
Good. Good. If we have a motion, I would make it. Is any comment from the members of the board? No. No? Is there a motion around on it? You have it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Amazing. We're trying. How would you like to make a motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
Do we have to close the public hearing or anything like
No.
that? No?
No, probably. I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
All right, here's a resolution. Village of Dobbs Ferry Planning Board resolution granting site plan approval for the construction of an addition to an existing single-family house together with related site work at 108 Northfield Avenue. Whereas Michael and Catherine Becker, owners, have applied for site plan approval to construct an addition to their single-family house at 108 Northfield Avenue and denoted on tax assessment maps as Section 3.60, Block 34, Lot 8, and located in the OF5 zoning district. And whereas the following plans and documents were submitted as part of the application, there's a long list here. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and the surrounding area and the proposed improvement plans, and at their meeting on April 4th, 2019, held a duly noticed public hearing, and all comments were considered. And whereas the proposed improvement to the single-family house is a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and is therefore exempt from further environmental review. Now it therefore be resolved that the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry herein grants site plan approval for the subject application conditioned on the following. All applicable provisions of the village, county, and state regulations shall be met. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, all required site plan and village consultants' review fees shall be paid, and all items in the village consulting engineer's memo dated March 4th and March 29th, 2019 shall be addressed to his satisfaction. 3, the following language shall be added to the plan, approved subject to all requirements and conditions of an April 4th, 2019 resolution of the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, New York. Any change, erasure, modification, or revision of this plan, absent reapproval from the Planning Board, shall void this approval. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall have an effective date of April 4th, 2019.
And you're making the motion?
Okay?
Is there a second? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is 96 Northfield Avenue, public hearing for proposed front porch addition. I would move we open the public hearing. Second. All in favor? Thank you.
My arm's getting tired.
I know,
Is that a bad sign?
know.
We could stay till midnight,
We're
just.
going too quickly?
No, we're not. Mr. Mayor.
Now, the applicant, the board, I'm here to get set up on the plan approval for the application, adding an addition to the existing front porch.
Right.
Into the ARB, approved it as
As approved. Mr. Palmer, there's no issues from your point?
The applicant has addressed all these.
Good. It's a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to be heard? No, I would move therefore that we close the public hearing. Second? Second. All in favor? Thank you. I know. We do have a motion. I would ask, would you consider
Oh,
making the motion?
Sure, wow, it's a big night. All right. Whereas Alfonso Libertor, owner, has applied for site plan approval to construct an addition to his two-family property at 96 Northfield Avenue and denoted on the tax assessment map as Section 3.1, Block 77, Lot 1, and located on the OF-5 zoning district. And whereas the following plans and documents were submitted as part of the application, a long list. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and the surrounding area and the proposed improvement plans, and at their meeting on April 4th, 2019, held a duly noticed public hearing and all comments were considered. And whereas the proposed improvement to the two-family property is a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA, and is therefore exempt from further environmental review. Now therefore it be resolved that the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry herein grants site plan approval for the subject application conditioned on the following. 1, all applicable provisions of the village, county, and state regulations shall be met. 2, prior to the issuance of a building permit, all required site plan and village consultants' review fees shall be paid, and all items in the village consulting engineer's memo dated March 4th and March 29th, 2019 shall be addressed to his satisfaction. 3, the following language shall be added to the plan, approved subject to all requirements and conditions of an April 4th, 2019 resolution of the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, New York. Any change, erasures, modifications, or revisions of the plan absent reapproval from the planning board shall void this approval. Be it further resolved that the resolution shall have an effective date of April 4th, 2019. Motion?
You make the motion?
Oh, I make the motion.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Good, thank you.
Great.
Nice.
Next item on our agenda is, that,
One Myrtle.
260 Palace?
yeah.
No, One Myrtle.
One Myrtle.
Yeah, I know, yeah, thanks. I'm sorry? No, there's 2 pre-submission conferences. I don't mind you being last, that's sort of appropriate. All right, we will move to item 7 on our agenda, 260 Palisade Avenue pre-submission conference for proposed 2-story rear addition.
Good evening, I'm Brad Oversheets, representing Morris and Monica property. We are proposing a 280 square foot addition to the east side of the property, which is a kitchen extension, and the second floor bedroom extension. We're also
Yeah. Why don't you lead us through what's happening here?
Okay, so, on the east side of the property, which is the Magnolia Drive side, we are expanding the kitchen on the first floor. Expanding the kitchen and a small family room. And we're also building a new terrace with a trellis above it. The existing entry porch remains, but the stairs to the entry porch are new stairs. Also on the south side, is a new stair down to the basement. On the second floor, which is drawing number 2 on 1.0, bedrooms 1 and 2 are expanding also the new elevation, which is number 1 on page 820, shows the kitchen expansion on the first floor with a 2.4 cellar. And on the second floor is a third bay with 2 bay windows. That's the expansion of the
Applications, there must be something else on the packet.
we have approval.
No, you've been,
You've already done that. Good.
well, in many ways, it's an interesting one for them, because this is really a classic house that's, I think, important in the village, and to have that house respected in the way it's being done is really the key to this, so.
What is the architectural style? I was very impressed with the house and wasn't quite, I don't remember I've seen anything quite like it.
No. No.
Okay.
We bought it 4 years ago, but it's had it very.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nifty.
This is the demolition. Instead of taking, this is just the demolition.
Are you gonna have to move the kids' play equipment?
We will probably, maybe make it actually, the reason for the addition is actually the bedrooms. My wife is expecting.
Oh, congratulations.
Was one story and became a 2-story after we found it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Planning for us.
Right.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Are you literally next door to this?
I'm sorry?
Are you literally next door to this?
No, I'm on the next street.
Oh.
But I'm within the radius, I got your letter last month.
Approved, I said.
Exactly.
The system's working.
Exactly. I don't know, do you have any preliminary comments, George or Dwight, on this? No.
No.
Well, I think we should call for a public hearing at our next meeting. Any,
So we haven't received any hearing comments from our design date, so.
Yeah.
That's all within. To address the public hearing requirement.
We'll get it to you.
yeah,
Very straightforward design.
It is.
yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Has AHRB acted on it, or have you just been there?
Further back.
They've acted. Okay, well,
Pending, pending planning board. It's approved pending your approval.
yes, right. Okay.
What's the purpose of the new electric line, and then the new utility pole? Why was that necessary?
So as we were planning the addition, the existing service comes in at the corner of the house where the addition is happening. So we're looking to, you drew the worst case scenario, but we're actually looking to utilize it if we can, because we're not necessarily impacting that corner or that feed, it can still come in.
Right now it comes in the corner of the property, which if you follow been in touch with the utility company about that pole? I would get, I would get in touch with them first, because, private poles
Putting in a new
take,
pole
yeah, that's a,
on the lot.
yeah, it might be a
Down on the ground.
complication, so.
I've done it anytime.
Okay.
He's done it. He's done it all over.
And Belleville?
Okay.
That's
Great. Sometimes they do, sometimes
type
they
of
don't.
electrician.
All right.
Licensed
All right.
electrician does a new service.
Now, any other questions or comments by the board?
No.
I would move we schedule a call for a public hearing at our next meeting. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. We'll look forward to seeing you next month. Item number 8 on our agenda, pre-submission conference for proposed 169 Judson Avenue, pre-submission conference for proposed one-story rear addition. Good evening.
Daniel, the architect for this project, with the addition and alteration to 169 Judson Avenue. The owner is here, Brian Kyle, representing Brian Kate Kyle on this. This is the existing house. Familiar with it, it's just towards the end of Judson. We're altering the front of it, putting large dormers on the front. And putting in a 408 square foot addition in the back of the house, and then doing other improvements as well. This is the context, familiar with the area, it sort of backs onto Children's Village property, so it's a nice wooded area, generally flattish site, more or less.
Large piece of property.
It's a very nice.
Yeah, nice piece of property.
So this is the existing house. We're proposing this addition in the back, with maybe square feet or so, and there's a deck that protrudes out, sort of steps down into the yard beyond that. And of course, making alterations to the existing house. And then we're enlarging the driveway a bit just to allow for another parking space, which requires a small retaining wall, just because the property dips down a little bit on that side of the driveway. It's less than 3 feet maximum. This is just demolition plans that show the existing house. Removing the deck in the back completely. And this, again, is the addition. The house is a 1.5-story house. It's a 1-story addition in the back. Again, the deck's going down, opening up onto the property below. We're altering the second floor, putting in large dormers, because it's really sort of half a floor. It's quite, sort of a little oppressive up there, so we're opening it up with these big dormers in the back. Just a basement plan. That's the proposed dormers, proposed addition in the back, proposed deck, and stepping down into the yard. All of the brick portion of the house is staying the same. And replacing windows everywhere, you don't care about that, I don't think. That's the back elevation. And the side elevation. This is a little retaining wall, which I don't think you have in your plans, I just added that recently, just a little uniblock block retaining wall.
Niall, where does that retaining wall run?
Along the
It's
driveway,
just,
right?
Along the.
Along the driveway, but is it end up
North side.
at the property property line, or does it go out onto the right of way?
No, it's not, on the property line. It's well within the property line.
Not on the right of way?
No, it ends before the right of way. Or before the property line.
So you put that on
Where's
the
the
next
section?
submission?
It's on, it's on those files that I sent you PDF of, but certainly I've sent it
Okay.
on copies. I mean, it's shown in the plan that you have currently, it's shown in elevation piece of the whole there. Is the elevation.
Okay, on the north side, all right.
There's really no, okay, but there's no part without, just getting,
Got it, I was looking at for the south
that's
side.
just to show the existing house, and that's actually something for the ARB we're looking at, just slightly smaller.
Right.
Yeah, material, new siding material, all the siding is gonna be removed and replaced over this thing. Some of the materials, it's more ARB stuff,
You haven't been there
more
yet.
ARB stuff than planning stuff, but yes,
You have been?
yes.
Oh, is it all done?
Well, they asked us just to look at the tweak that I just showed, the
Uh-huh.
dormers, just to make them, I mean, they need to be big to make.
The room's bigger,
Useful
right.
upstairs, so there's a bit of a
Mhm.
trade-off, between dormer size versus function of the rooms.
And you want to expand the width of the driveway to create this additional parking area, is that correct?
That's right, yep,
Mhm.
yep, yep. Yeah, because otherwise they'd be juggling, they're putting a two-car garage in the side.
I'm familiar with the property, I also live on Judson Avenue, welcome
Me
to the
too.
neighborhood.
I
So does
live, I
Rob.
live just down the street from it. We're
They're
neighbors.
between us.
We don't know each other, but we're neighbors.
First of all, I'd like to say that the previous owner was elderly and didn't do much for quite a while, so it'll be nice to see the property get a refresh.
Yes.
And
Sprucing up for sure.
I do also have, knowing the site well, I think that the addition on the rear will have minimal visual impact for the neighborhood. And I'm certainly in favor of everything you've proposed so
Yeah.
far.
Call for a public hearing?
Yeah.
Well, I think we must. Good. I would like to move that we call for a public hearing at our next, our May meeting. All in favor? Second? All in favor? Aye.
I have a small question, maybe, because just this, at first I thought this wouldn't have to go to the planning board, and then I realized there's that 10-foot horizontal rule, which is puzzling, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it could be a 10 by 5-foot structure, and it would have to come before the planning board. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Isn't it also the amount of square footage of earth that you have to disturb?
All those were way under earth, because we're not doing any earth. We're under on the square footage of the size of the addition. It's just this 10-foot horizontal, which at first I thought, it must mean 10-foot horizontally as it relates to the street frontage, because then that would make sense as kind of a planning board issue potentially. But 10 feet anywhere doesn't make any sense. It
No.
just doesn't, I mean, there's nothing, I don't see anything, maybe some of you can articulate, what is it about this project that requires planning board scrutiny?
Well, maybe we should defer the
No.
public hearing.
But,
By a month.
no.
If you like, we can, and we could make this a topic of next month's meeting, and then. I actually don't remember what, and maybe you can, I thought, it was also the
I
500,
can't-
you're not,
Didn't write it.
We're under 500 square feet.
in terms of the amount of land that you disturb?
Oh, well,
Those
well,
are
land disturbance, like-
also things that would stipulate that it comes here. But there's a list,
Right,
and 10 foot in any direction is one of the things.
right.
So, I mean,
Maybe,
I
they're
brought
right.
it up to,
Well, I know that's the reason, I'm just saying.
at the
I'm
code
taking the opportunity to say,
committee.
some of this needs to be rethought, because it doesn't make sense. I was on the planning board, this never would have been in front of the planning board when I was on the planning board. You just,
Huh.
it's your time, I don't know, you guys are volunteering. It needs some rethinking, I think, that's just my opinion.
That was the way it was
What is
written in
worth?
'09, the new code.
No, we'll see you in June.
Like my punishment for-
That's good.
Can I just ask a quick procedural question? When you say it's up for public hearing next month, could you just clarify
Well, I think you saw examples
witnessed it
of that
tonight.
tonight, where the public has an opportunity, we give them an opportunity to speak about it. If, in many cases, the neighbors or other people in the village, depending on the type of project, have opinions about what's happening, so.
The likelihood is it'll be opened and closed in one, the same way you saw some of the other projects, and then we'll approve it.
Yeah.
And read a resolution.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an improvement and it's uncontroversial.
Unless I've already done it, I would call for a public hearing at our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
The last item on our agenda tonight is 1 Myrtle Avenue, public hearing for proposed 3-car garage addition with au pair suite. I would move that we open the public hearing.
You're gonna ask if anyone, you're gonna ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak?
Yeah, I would, but they're moving. All in favor? I'm sure you're all in favor of opening the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Patty, where is this with the AHRB?
We have not been to the HRA.
Why didn't you go and just get it over with?
I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page with you guys before we did it. I mean, you guys.
Wasn't that clear from the last meeting, or no?
The last meeting wasn't a public hearing.
I know, but,
And I think there are other ways you could do this project. So if I come in and showed you this and you said, why are you building over there? What if we put the addition in the front?
okay.
Coming off, because we looked at that scheme. And I didn't want to have a situation where we wasted any time.
Okay.
That seemed like the best way to do it. It's a very, very nice house. First, Patty's done a very awesome design. Community development representing the Ostros. Laura Wakefield is the architect working on this project in our office. In case it comes up as a concern. We've gotten comments from Con Engineering. We've addressed most of those ourselves. We haven't yet submitted that to George, but I think everything kind of works out. There were a number of specific questions, which I'll get to in a minute. I don't know if you really want me to take you through any of this stuff. I mean, here's photos. I found the mistiest day I could for this kind of English style. Felt like the wars. It's a great house.
Yeah, it's a real classic house, and the site is one of the, really,
It's a pretty remarkable house. And as big as the house is, it's deceptive. It's actually not that. It looks like it's deceptive. The reality is it's fairly reasonably sized, particularly given the size of the lot. And what we're looking to do is to make the additions onto this end, which we felt is kind of the least interesting part of the house. It's in the back corner. And we're picking up like roof lines and carrying this across, creating an open walkway underneath the addition to the house, so you can get to the back door. This kind of weird little stuff going on. We're not really resolving any of that, but we're not making it worse, and I think you'll just won't see this as much. This retaining wall we're taking out. Right now, this is about 2 feet from the corner of the house to that wall, so you're kind of squeezing around to get through it, really high end. So our idea is to open this up and bring that back.
Does it take
what? Last time, this is it's a
Hey, Patty?
1.5 acre parcel.
does water come, is that a hill behind the house? Does water come over there?
First thing we did before we started working on the architecture of this, we went down, we walked through the house and saw the issues. So I called Jeff Moretti and had him come over. He's already, hardened the interior of the walls with a certain kind of cement that stops the water from pouring in through the walls. It was actually an issue, so we're working on that. The repairs, you can see, after we got started, these copper gutters were added. Part of the reason we thought they were getting so much water in the basement was that these gutters weren't there, so water's coming down trapped behind the house. So those kinds of issues are getting resolved as we go. this house owned these, because these come in, the easement goes across this to get their utilities in. So I think this was something where somebody, subdivided the property, but they still kept, more than an acre, acre and a half. We've got the topo with all the trees located. We're only taking down 3 significant trees, which are up in this area here. We're able to kind of keep everything else. Just real quick, in terms of scope of work, we're adding the 3-car garage here. It's got the au pairs quarters above. Nice little terrace for the au pairs quarters out the back, a new staircase coming down. This is that wall that we're removing, squaring that off. So you'll be able to walk under where this connects to the house and come in the back door. This will be kind of a more usable space. We're proposing building a retaining wall here to kind of level this area out so that there's a better play area for the children coming off of that side of the house, which is it's the nicest part of the house basically used. So kind of respects this row of trees. There's an existing screening wall of trees here for the pool. We're going to try, we can't guarantee them, but we're going to try and move these 5 down to this edge so that we can actually maintain that height and that screening, which I think will be fun. We originally, I'll go back to the plan in a minute. We originally talked about, let's see where I get to this, having the detention basins up in here. One of the concerns that Han Engineering had was that this seems like this is very compacted where the driveway was, probably not the greatest place. So we moved that down to this area where it's, it's relatively virgin soil. So I think we'll get better perks and ability to get rid of the water there. Going back to that one that I was looking at a minute ago, one of the concerns that was expressed was Doxbury has an ordinance that says if you have 35% sloped areas that exceed 1,500 square feet, you really should try and avoid them. So we did, our first design concept was to add here, but the concern with that was it kind of, first of all, it blocked their views out from 2 rooms that were fairly nice views. And it also, it just seemed like it was kind of begging that we were coming closer to rural, which didn't seem like a great idea. We were a little bit concerned about the slopes up in this area, but we've done an analysis, and the steep slope in the 1,500 square foot footprint, if you will, of what we're proposing, that's at 27%, so significantly less than the 35 limit. There is one little section here adjacent to where we're building the area of terrace. This gets filled in. That's at 32%. So we've figured that stuff out. We kind of looked at all the steep slope stuff. We didn't do a steep slopes analysis to determine what portion of the site is sloped, but basically because with 74,000 square feet, almost 75,000, if everything was over 25%, we would still have a 37,000 square foot parcel. Our building coverage right now with the 74,000 is 5.71. If it were the 37, would be 11.42, where we're allowed 18. Same thing with impervious. Right now with the 74, we're at 17.23. If we reduce the lot area to half, it would be 34.45, and we're at 14.2. So it seems like it's unnecessary to do those. And I've already mentioned the other stuff with the, with the steep slopes. These, I don't think you guys care about it, but we make sure that we've got a good detail for tree protection, stockpiling, and all that stuff. And then there was one other concern that was expressed, but I think that's because they had to look at the site. This was the drawing we looked at last time. These are the same elevations, but what we've added is the sky exposure plane. Due to the distance and topography, we are, it's just not an issue. So I think we've addressed all of the concerns, but of course, if you guys have questions or ideas or interests, we would certainly love to hear.
Good. Patty, on the floor plan, the second floor plan,
Yep,
the existing bedroom,
right here.
so that little box to the west there, the left side, that's a staircase down to
Yeah,
connect
right
to the
here.
first floor?
These are steps right here that come down onto the landing of the stairs, and then there's some more steps that go up to the second floor and wrap down the first
Return
floor.
around and-
Come up,
Okay.
across
so the proposed new bedroom, the existing bedroom all connect to the existing house, and
Right.
the new would connect through that hallway.
Exactly. So the au pair will be able to come through this way, or, you know, if they say, no, we don't want you walking in there, if she had to go down the stairs, I guess, but the idea is that this all kind of works with, you know, making it easy for her.
That was the only question I had, and you removed the stove from the kitchen.
Yes, we certainly did. Make faces, this is like television.
I've got an old one here, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, well, everything was submitted to this meeting, that's correct, we corrected that.
Why did you remove the stove?
We're not allowed to have a two-family residence. And this is something I think the village could address sometime. Maybe it's a night you're addressing whatever Niall's concern was. You know, we've done houses that have 3 kitchens. And a single-family home. It really isn't the kitchen, it's the concern, and I understand it, as Ed pointed out, is, okay, these people have this intent to have an au pair, and that's what this is for. But if we put a kitchen in, and then circumstances change, somebody else owns your house, and they treat this as a separate apartment, you now have a two-family house. So we never install a kitchen, we've never triggered the ability for that to be considered a two-family house. I personally would love it that we could have echo units. Rob thinks that's a great idea. Rob would be the champion leading the charge.
Leave the pipe in.
Oh, no, no gas pipe. No. Change the law.
No, I'm gonna,
Fine.
I wanna see it changed. I think we should actually
I have
have
to
an accessory
enforce the
dwelling
code.
unit rule in this town.
Yeah, what if you
But
put it
it's
on?
true, we don't have it now.
What,
Yeah, I think I'll be an old man. before
is that
happens.
Hastings,
Love
like
to make-
Hastings?
Already there.
220 volt for
Yeah.
an electric stove and then one.
Yeah.
So anything that you're concerned about, anything,
So it's
enough parking?
only for a month.
Oh, it's Probably, how many cars do they have?
Both, Kendall and Adam each have a car. The mom, who is the au pair, she has a car, and they have friends over, so the idea of having the car is be able to be put away in the garage, and they still have room at that point for probably 3 or 4 more cars.
That's nice.
And this is so when friends of theirs like, Pitbull or somebody like that comes over.
Yes. Hey, Ed, I can't see you right now, but are you, are we okay on the issue that,
Yes,
okay,
yeah, at first, we were looking at it and we didn't see the connection from the existing, but then I noticed when looking at this one, it was a little clearer that those are 2 little steps down, and they connect to
Okay.
a wraparound staircase.
okay, okay. Anybody else? Anybody? Would you like a public hearing?
This is a public hearing.
This is,
It is.
Yeah.
this is
I
a public.
noticed it, I went to everybody's,
And
already
there-
good that they
and
would.
Oh my
There is a
God, it is a
resolution.
public hearing.
You can close the public hearing and adopt the resolution.
See if anybody wants to speak.
Does he have a
Yeah.
Well, we could do that. We could do that.
Oh, is there one?
I know, I've got one. I've got one. I've got one. All right, I would move that we close the public hearing. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Thank you. Read the following resolution. The Village of Dobbs Ferry Planning Board resolution granting site plan approval for the construction of an addition to an existing single-family house together with related site work, 1 Myrtle Avenue. Whereas Adam and Kendall Ostrow, owners, have applied for site plan approval to construct an addition to their single-family house at 1 Myrtle Avenue and denoted on tax assessment maps as section gives all locations. Whereas the following plans and documents were submitted and lists all the things that we've been reviewed and the village has reviewed. Whereas the planning board is familiar with the site and the surrounding area and the proposed improvement plans, and at their meeting of April 4, 2019, held a duly noticed public hearing. I'm looking around the public hearing. Public hearing, and all comments were considered. Whereas the proposed improvement to the single-family house is a type 2 action under State Environmental Quality Review Act and is therefore exempt from further environmental review, that now therefore be it resolved that the planning board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry herein grants site plan approval for the subject application conditioned on the following. 1, all applicable provisions of village, state, county, and state regulations shall be met. 2, prior to the issuance of building permit, all required site plan and village consultant reviews fees shall be paid, and all items in the village and consulting engineer's memos dated March 1 and March 29 shall be addressed to his satisfaction. 3, a site landscape plan shall be provided for review and approval by the consulting planner. Is it okay? Okay. The following language shall be added to the plan, approved subject to all requirements and conditions of an April 4, 2019 resolution of the Planning Board of the Village of Dobbs Ferry, New York. Any change, erasure, modification, or revision of this plan absent reapproval from the Planning Board shall avoid this approval. Be it therefore resolved that this resolution shall have an effective date of April 4, 2019. I make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Passed.
Thank you very much. I did want to make one little last point. Since I'll be here one more time.
Let's reopen the meeting. Does that change the way you feel about this?
This has nothing to do with the application. This is something I think we need to deal with. And I'm using this as my closing slide at the talk in Louisville in June, where hopefully Rob will come, but that's probably not gonna happen. This is a photograph that shows the prints with kind of nasty expression on his face. It looks like he's giving it somebody the finger. At the same time that photo is taken, this photo is taken. So you realize that he's not doing that. He's basically gesturing and he's making a comment. And so much what we deal with today, day and age, is people making lots of assumptions on what they think they're seeing, what they think they're hearing. I think we have to be better at it, because we can't really create the kind of place we want to be if we let ourselves get kind of pulled off in tangents on nonsense. And we have some real issues that need to be dealt with, some very, very significant ones that I think by the year 2025 is going to be daunting, and I think we need to be working on it now. So thanks.
Thank you.
One, shall we close the meeting?
Fold it down.
One thought,
Fingers.
Wait a minute, Joy doesn't thought.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the 100 Main project went with our blessing, I guess, in the form of a letter to the Board of Trustees. We're still awaiting any determination from them, but it occurred to me that perhaps, wanted to bring this up for discussion, a site visit with the planning board members and the Board of Trustees invited to it might have the opportunity to kind of look at that whole area along the aqueduct, see what works and what doesn't, and see what the benefit of preserving or protecting or repairing the garage might be as part of the overall project that 100 Main was. So I didn't know if there was any interest in that, but it occurred to me that occasionally a site visit is needed for what we think the project might benefit the aqueduct view in that we block cars and do other things beside just preserving the garage. So I wondered if that was something we would, as a board, think worthwhile and consider, and then if it was, then we could try to reach out to the Board of Trustees to see if they would be interested in a joint visit.
I think that's a terrific idea. I think this board has been particularly good over time at of doing site visits to really understand what it was that we were looking at, as opposed to looking at pieces of paper. And
Well, we've
so-
done a site visit there. It may have been too long.
No, this is with-
Yeah, but I think it would be
We've
good for
actually
the
done
planning
three.
board to be there with the Board of Trustees.
I just want to clarify what our goal is
Oh,
of
yeah, no,
a
we've-
fourth site visit.
We've done several there, I think, even so.
I think, I mean, if I understand right, we'll be on the agenda for Tuesday night at the Board of Trustees, Donna?
Donna?
Wait, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Tuesday night is the next Board of Trustees
Yes.
meeting. I'm assuming we're gonna be on the agenda for that.
Yes, you are.
So is it possible to do something maybe this weekend for trustees who are interested?
Saturday or Sunday?
Thing is, it has to
We
be
can-
publicly noticed.
It has to be noticed.
A site visit has to be noticed?
Yeah, it has to be noticed.
Anytime a quorum.
But Donna, the idea could be brought up at the
I will,
Tuesday.
definitely be brought up. I'll also
Even if you
send
go
them
out
an
drinking.
email tomorrow morning, alerting them to that.
Even the weekend, yeah, a quorum of you out.
Weekend,
You just have more than three
It's not
members.
supposed to happen without public notice.
No, but we have to notice it for
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah, we got it.
As soon as the three
Yeah.
more than three of us are
Yeah,
on.
we-
Two of you are equal to three trustees.
No, but that,
We
no,
have to go in
all-
disguise.
Even Sultan.
That's right.
Yeah, the more,
Yes,
the
okay.
more the better,
And
because,
it doesn't make a difference because we don't come back to this board until
They
May
refer.
anyway.
Right.
So if we end up having the discussion at not the meeting on the 9th, but the meeting on 2 weeks after that, 23rd, maybe that works fine. I mean, I think it's a very good idea because I think that's really why I was showing that picture. I think there's a lot of people who are saying, they think they understand what they're talking about. They don't realize they look at one side of it, not the other, and there's a lot of craziness. I mean, I heard people shouting in the hallway after the last trustees meeting. You know, very well-respected, intelligent people.
You assume.
I assume they're intelligent. I know who they were.
You're making assumptions again.
I always make assumptions.
So-
That's what gets me in trouble.
You
At this
remember that
point,
slide, that last slide?
we can
you
just
had?
wait for, to see if there's interest, that Donna finds,
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah,
interest from the board
okay.
of trustees, and then we'll take it from there to try to
Okay,
see who can be available. Usually a Saturday or a Sunday morning is kind of what we've been,
yeah,
works.
that's our usual routine. Yeah, good idea. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Adjourned, we're adjourned.
I moved, I think we moved with, we already did this.
We haven't adjourned yet.
All right, I move we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Okay.